Matthew chapter 6, verse 1 to 4. So be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So, when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. So this is the start of the next section of the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus speaks about three practices of righteousness that can be done in front of people or in privacy. So the first one is giving to the needy. The second one is prayer, and the third one is fasting. So these are three practices of righteousness that Jesus says can be done in front of other people. Now I want you to firstly stop and think. Compare this list of practices of righteousness with the list that quickly comes to your mind. So we have giving to the needy, we have prayer, and we have fasting. I wonder actually for how many Christians these are three core parts of righteous life. For how many Christians are these three core principles for Christian living? So Jesus starts by speaking about giving to the poor, because giving to the poor is a key part of the Christian life, whether that's providing to a charity, Salvos, St. Vincent de Paul, Compassion, Samaritan's Purse, or it's sponsoring a child, or maybe it's helping people who you know who are struggling financially, or it could even be advocating for a higher percentage of the government's budget for foreign aid policy. This is a key practice of the Christian life. In Jesus' mind, it's as much a key practice as praying is a key practice of the Christian life. And he encourages his listeners here, he encourages us to think about our motivations when we do this practice. What's motivating us when we give to the poor? Are we motivated to do it by the praise we will receive from other people? Giving to the poor is fairly fashionable in the world at the moment. Philanthropy is kind of well acknowledged by especially richer people. So you'll certainly be praised if you let people know that you're giving to the poor. And here's the thing about praise from people. It is a really, really powerful motivator. Receiving praise from people is powerfully motivating. It's like Pavlov's dogs. We're trained, we're conditioned to receive praise from people and continue doing that behavior for the praise of the people. And because it's a powerful motivator, it's a dangerous motivator. Because it'll make us do these things for praise rather than doing them for God. So we might be motivated to give to the poor for praise rather than for the sake of the poor. We might be motivated to pray for praise from others rather than as an exercise of our relationship with God, but there'll be more about that tomorrow. What I find really interesting about this passage is when it says, give to the poor, and then it says, truly I tell you, you have received your reward in full. There's this funny kind of irony that when you give to the poor, you are going to receive a reward. And Jesus says the reward can play out in two ways. Firstly, there can be a social reward. You get the praise from other people. You'll probably continue to do the action, but only out of your hypocrisy. And the Father, he doesn't give you any reward because you've already received your reward from people. So that's the first kind of reward that you can get. The second kind of reward is a heavenly reward. It's a reward from your Father. And Jesus says you can have one or the other. You can't have both. So we have to give to the poor as if our left hand doesn't know what our right hand is doing. Because that giving in secret, God sees. And what he sees in secret, he rewards.